Support for today's episode of Still Entitled comes from War Dragons, a mobile real-time strategy game where players directly control dragons to attack enemy bases. With over 150 different dragons to collect, players can join guilds to launch co-op attacks and co-op defense. Best of all, there's a new endgame feature called Atlas, which is a 3D persistent world where players can forge alliances with other teams and build up dragon-led armies, fight for new land, and secure lucrative rewards. Just go to wardragons.com/untitled via your phone or tablet device to download the game. Now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Entitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Norm.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Tom Spina.
Tom Spina, welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here.
Tom just arrived into the shop about 15 minutes ago, so you have not had enough time to acclimatize before we threw headphones on you.
I'm going to be spending most of this time going like this. Not a joke.
So, Tom, we visited you when we went to New York, when we were there for New York Comic Con, and we actually have some videos we shot in your shop that's been going on the site. But for people who
soon,
may
right?
not, yeah, very soon, just in a week or so. For people who don't know your work, how would you best describe yourself?
Well, let's see here. It's a lot. The simplest way to do it is we make and restore cool stuff, I think is like how I would boil it down. But I have two companies. One is called Tom Spina Designs. The other is called Regal Robot. Tom Spina Designs started about a dozen years ago. Really, it began when I was this big, though, like I think so many
all
people.
of our endeavors
Yeah.
did. Yeah, totally.
And it grew out of me making masks and monsters and things like that, and morphed into this amazing journey of restoring original movie props and wardrobe and making awesome custom mannequins and displays and things like that.
This is how I first became acquainted with you, is that I had visited Bob Burns' place and seen the American Werewolf in London head of the werewolf and its decaying state as foam latex
Often does,
as foam latex often does. It was hardened and rotting and falling to powder, turning to powder.
Yeah.
And then a little while after that, John Landis, who's a friend of mine, sent me a link. It said, "Can you believe what this guy has done?"
Well, and that was one of the most oh gosh, I mean, it's such an honor just to work on it, but one of the most nerve-wracking things
can't even
ever
imagine.
to walked into that. But so amazing just because of Bob and Kathy. More
Bob
than,
and Kathy Burns.
Obviously, yes, and who are. If you're an effects guy or if you're an artist, they are just among the most supportive people in the world.
And the number of people that cut their teeth in Bob and Kathy's house, from John Landis to Rick Baker to Peter Jackson to Dennis Murin, George Lucas, young George Lucas would go there, and he would have Halloween celebrations there at his place
John
in Burbank.
Berg.
Yeah,
There's so many guys. You go back and look at these old Halloween shows that Bob would do, and they're just littered with these people who would become amazing effects industry leaders.
Yeah.
So restoration. I've got a great crew of people in New York with me that now restore stuff. We make things. We make big styrofoam things. We're like a giant 20-foot Statue of Liberty bust we did.
So you do a lot of standard effects, effects shops are effectively Swiss Army knives, right?
Yeah.
So it's whatever anyone needs. You do a lot of that kind of work.
Right, yeah. Sometimes it's creature work, doing like Cantina monsters for Star Wars commercials and things like that.
Sometimes it's one-time use. Sometimes it needs to last for 50 years.
Exactly, yeah. So Tom Spina Designs is the Swiss Army knife shop.
Yeah.
Regal Robot is really focused, and that grew out of, we made the Han Solo and Carbonite desk about 10 years ago that went crazy viral, and kind of told us like, hey, maybe you're onto something.
There's a market.
Yeah, and it was just, we had always thought there was more that could be done with themed furniture and bringing a bit of that, like, I'm sure you guys are big Disney park fans and stuff like that, and theme park fans. I personally love immersing myself in that stuff and soaking up details. And I feel like people like having stuff like that in their homes.
But we
or
also
shops.
this is the thing. We like having this stuff in our lives.
Yeah.
It gives both of us in our surroundings and our environments a lot of sustenance and inspiration.
It maintains that sense of curiosity
So
and
you're selling that
everything.
experience with
Yeah.
Regal Robot.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not a prop. It's not a prop replica.
No,
That's
it
different.
lives in between the space of home goods and prop replicas, and it's sort of collectible in some cases, and it's sort of functional in other cases. But it's just for the most part, we're doing themed home decor, furniture, and sculpture and art.
And you're not just doing I remember seeing the very first Han Solo desk, and I was like, I want to meet the guy that has the disposable income for that kind of folly. It's wonderful. I love that guy. A lot of them are friends of mine.
We loved him too.
But you also have stuff that's a lower cost. You have
Yeah.
stuff that it's the line is accessible.
Exactly. And what we're trying to do now, actually, we launched loud. So we launched with a Han Carbonite desk and the Millennium Falcon asteroid table and all this big, crazy, over the top, what we call our custom studio stuff. That's the premium stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff we have in the works that's a little more down to earth. And there's plenty of stuff in the art section, like those Mandalorian skulls and all this cool stuff.
Got to order one of those.
But it's just, and thank you. But it's just cool, and I get excited just talking about it if it's not clear.
So since you're on the West Coast, what was the last thing you were working on in the shop?
Oh boy! So we have a
You can't talk about a lot of stuff you work on, can you?
That's really it. So we're working on one of my favorite things. We're working on. I can't talk about, but we actually have a very full shop. So you guys were there just 3 or 4 weeks ago at this point, and when you guys were there, I think we had like 4 tables we were able to clear and work with while we were shooting. And now we have no tables. So everything is just full. It's a lot of restoration. We've got we've still got a couple of gremlins in the shop. There's always gremlins in the shop.
And that's really started with the Rick Baker auction that Prop Store did.
So no, I restored one of the first movie Gremlins. It was actually the first one I restored,
not
one of
even
the
the
Chris
Baker
Wallace
show. Okay, wow.
ones. And
Jamie Heineman worked on. Oh no, that's before his time. It turns out Gremlins is before his time.
okay. So yeah, but it just seems there's always gremlins in the shop.
Multiplying.
Yeah, right. Somebody got one of them wet, and now, but between the first movie ones, which we've restored a handful of, and certainly the Rick Baker stuff, which went through the big prop store auction, obviously, which we worked on with Rick and Prop Store to restore a bunch of stuff for it, but. After that, when all of those gremlins got out there into the public, a lot of them made their way to us to fix them up or display them or even just conserve them.
You're building that institutional knowledge too of the color, because these are parts that I'm blown away by what I watched your folks do, because
Thank you.
like these are parts that really are rotting. It's like take a look at a peach in which there's this big bruise, and then imagine going in with paint and some
cotton and
prosade and stuff, and slowly rebuilding that peach so you can't tell that it's there.
And it has to maintain the essence of that peach
That's
built
right.
in that time.
And the age of the peach and,
And
the
you're
character
also
of the peach.
ceasing the rotting of the rest of it.
As much as you can within those spaces, you try and cauterize those wounds, so to speak.
Oh, I've got a project to talk to you offline.
Okay.
A restoration project
All right.
of
This
the
isn't
largest
for you guys,
proportion.
but we'll,
Do the things that come through, a lot of it were things that were made in the 80s and 90s or a certain type of material?
It's a lot of foam latex. There's a lot of people don't even know what foam latex is if you're a layperson, and that
I say makeup sponge. That's the way to think about it.
Yeah, kind of, right? It's very squishy, very flexible, super
Very
light,
close pour, very
And
fine detail.
great when it's on set.
Yeah.
Not so great 20, 30 years later. But we've seen stuff going way back to 2001. We restored one of Stuart's apes head to toe. In fact, it was missing a foot. So head to toe on one side, head to an ankle on the other, and then we made the foot. But in some cases like that, Stuart's foam on the face for that was 90% of it felt fresh.
Wow.
And
So
this
someone
is
had just stored
40
this completely out of the light.
It just, and there's so many factors that go into foam, though. It's like, how was it blended?
Oh, yeah.
Was it washed after they did? How was it painted? Was it stored this way?
That requires like 7 different, sometimes as many as 7 or 8 different chemicals, all joined together in mixtures. And people who run foam, that's what you call
They're
it.
geniuses.
They're geniuses, and they keep a notebook of every foam mix they've ever made, and the temperature, humidity, elevation,
so many
everything
factors.
matters.
So you have
Yeah,
to
it's
reproduce
maddening.
that or somehow.
No. So, I mean, what we're doing is we're using archival materials to fill in the gaps that are missing or to cauterize those wounds and to try and, build up those spaces that have gone away.
So I mean, I love putting my hands on original pieces. It's very exciting when you think about this came about because an art director and a director and a production designer started making drawings, and then somebody got called and went to work and they made this thing, and it's lasted for all this time, and it was part of this narrative. Have you gotten to? I'm assuming you've met some of the makers of the pieces. Have you gotten to talk to them about? Like, have you gotten specific questions from repairing their work that you would have not gotten had you not put your hands all inside of it?
That's an interesting question. I'm sure that I have. I'd be hard pressed to think of
I'm just thinking of
example,
conversation
but, like,
points like when you meet Rick Baker. I know you've met. I know you know Rick. Like, have there been some areas you've been like, hey, I have a question?
Oh yeah,
So
no.
it's like
So,
witness
a lot
marks.
of times, no. There are a lot of times where we're able to take advantage or whatever, capitalize on the knowing these people, where you can say like, oh, you know what, John Berg worked on that, or Rick Baker made this, like I'll call Rick up. So this is not necessarily relating to the restoration, but when we restored Muftak, which is the big furry four-eyed, as Rick called him, spider guy from Star Wars, with the little sausage snout. So we did that for Bob and Kathy. One of my favorite things I've ever worked on, obviously. I'm a little bit of a Cantina nut, if people don't already know this. But I look at the costume, and that was in really rough shape. It was like on the verge of, if we didn't do this when we did it, he could have just sort of crumbled apart, because the foam inside of him, it was just a polyfoam, but it started to crumble. And the seams on the costume were starting to crumble because he was sort of being supported by the head weight. So the whole weight of the costume was on the neck, and yada, yada, yada. But so we get the thing, and I look inside, and there's a shirt built into the costume as part of it.
Yeah.
And it's no longer a shirt. It's what happens if you took a shirt and threw it on a table in a pile and then dumped a bucket of latex onto it. So it's a solid mass of latex.
Right.
So it's this weird latex shirt. And so we're trying to figure out what it is. And then at some point, somebody goes, why don't you ask Rick? We're like, oh yeah, why don't I ask Rick? Like, we should totally do that. So I email Rick, and he writes back almost immediately, and he's like, I know exactly what that is. So they were shooting, I think he said it was like Entertainment Tonight or something, at his studio. And this is mid-'80s. And they had Muftak around the studio, and they put him up on top of the paint booth or something like that, just to be in the background, it was have fun stuff. They finished the shoot, and he goes to get him down. Well, somebody put him on top of a 5-gallon bucket of latex, and the lid wasn't on all the way. So when Rick pulled the thing down, the whole bucket of latex poured into Muftak and onto Rick's legs, and he said he was wearing shorts. So
That's why he remembers.
that exactly, yeah, and
gosh.
there's no way to get that latex off without. That's like a wax job.
No, I have done that.
Right.
I have done it. I've
We all
actually
have.
done that on purpose. I've painted my whole body in latex
no.
on purpose for Mythbusters. And let me
That's
tell you,
right.
pulling it off is
The lot comes with it. Yeah.
Not a production thing, just accidental in
just
his home.
accidental, but
All right.
and so that's it.
So can we? I don't know how much have you watched Stranger Things season 2 at all?
So on the
This is
plane,
what I wanted to talk about.
on the plane here today. I was actually watching this. I got through episode. I'm up to episode 6, so I saw it all the way
okay.
through episode 5.
So you're halfway done.
I'm halfway,
Right, it's 10
a little
episodes?
over
9
I think it's
episodes.
9
Yeah,
episodes.
you're more than halfway
more
done.
than
Yeah,
halfway
yeah,
there.
totally.
Okay, so good. Because I
Okay.
finished it
Oh,
yesterday.
did you?
Yeah.
I finished the season yesterday.
Okay.
So we're gonna do, I guess, a half spoiler here. We'll
Okay.
get up to episode 5.
Thank you.
And my question is,
Are we start jumping into spoilers
let's just
immediately?
jump right
All
into
right.
spoiler territory.
In the spoiler cast territory. Here we go.
Yes, here we Demi Gorgons.
Yeah.
I was I loved it. Was Mike Elizalde who built the Demi Gorgon for the first one? Am I right?
Yeah. It was
Mike's a
beautiful.
good friend, and that thing is magnificent.
Yeah.
So
And
that was a practical head.
It was a practical head, but no longer. Now I believe
No,
all
just-
the Demis are
right?
CG.
And okay, so of what
I
I've
knew
seen,
you would have an opinion about
yeah,
this.
of what I've seen, I don't feel like I've seen a practical creature effect so far. You know, whether it's Dart when he's little or Dart when he's bigger, and maybe the dead cat body. Did they have to kill the cat?
You know, that was a
The
little
dead
disturbing.
cat
to
was
me.
actually the most upsetting and really well done bit. I watched
when
it twice.
he
'cause
walks
I-
up to
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
And the kid is not as terrified as I thought he should have been.
Well, Dustin's born to be a special forces killer or something. That guy is so even keeled.
Strengthen those
He
pearls.
has a deeply
Straight cold.
deeply straightforward ego. It's
Oh,
amazing. I found something interesting. You know as I do that like sometimes you'll watch the early VHS copies of Star Wars. For
Oh,
instance,
yeah.
and you can see the matte lines because
Yes.
the color and the balancing was done for film, not for video.
Right.
Right. So oftentimes some of those witness marks for early films transferred to digital or to video, that stuff shows up. And so I rarely judge a movie on how it looks on a television or computer screen.
Right.
However, I found the one fault. I loved this season. First, let me just state outright. I loved this season. I will watch it again because
Yeah,
my wife
I'm
is
loving
only
it so
halfway
far.
through. Yeah,
I'm loving
it's great. It was very satisfying. I'm very happy with what happened and how it happened. The one note that I had a problem with was I kept seeing significant like contrast issues between the CG Dart and the Demi Gorgon,
Right.
and the real stuff. Now I'd expect to see that in like a bad transfer,
Right.
But not on a Netflix that I'm watching on my computer.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that's because that was all made for Netflix 4K HDR and
This
the
certainly
brightness.
could be.
Oh.
This
Yeah.
certainly could be. We should
Maybe.
Do we have a 4K TV in our?
I do have my friend just got the LG the C7 4K HDR, so I'll go check it out there. Yeah, maybe we'll. But that was way more interactive, right? Dart, the polywog,
Yeah.
crawling on the hands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
And-
so much more.
And the polywog crawling around on his hand, like I didn't see any tracking issues.
No.
Everything looked
Tracking
really
was
good.
perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like every aspect of the technical stuff
Yeah.
was dead on the money. The animation was great.
So and I keep hitting my phone because I jotted
You know
things
it's- oh,
down
nice.
because I was like,
Oh, nice.
But did you catch when the Dart escapes the AV room?
Yes.
There was a hint. And maybe I'm just imagining this. I heard a little Gremlins theme, like almost a little like that. It was just a hint of it. I don't know if it was on purpose or what, but I was
Nifty.
thinking Gremlins the whole time, where he's bringing him to school to show the
Yes.
professor.
Yes.
That sounds
and
like-
that feels like the 80s thing that they brought in.
Oh, totally.
This season.
So which episode have you just watched? Which is episode 5? I watched it all at once. So what just happened?
I'm trying to remember now. So, they just called. They just sent the letters off to the newspapers.
Oh, okay. So they
Bill Murray.
so right.
And how
Yes.
great! No, how great though is the reporter guy
Yeah.
who. Does he not look like they could just plucked him out of Fletch and just
it's
dropped
exactly
him down?
right. Exactly.
Like, it's
exactly.
so perfect.
That actor. You're totally right.
He has the what is the best line he says to the two kids that when he talks about to know everything or like
Yeah.
there's one thing he says. and
Oh, it's a
very
burden seeing
Yes.
things as clearly as
Yes,
I do. Right.
oh, that's-
You've told me a lot of whoppers tonight, but that's the first line. It's
Yeah,
a
that
great
was
bit of
great
interaction.
line, yes.
So what's going on with Hop right now?
So they just saved him from the
right
the
so
tunnels.
that episode and
It's right
its
before
successor. Those
yeah.
are this episode and the next episode are the two that Andrew Stanton, director of John Carter
Oh.
and Finding Dory
Finding Nemo,
and
yeah, yeah,
Wally.
not Wally, just Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, and John Carter.
John Carter, right? He directed these two episodes. And
Uh-huh.
I had dinner with him a couple of weeks ago and asked what it was like, and he said it's so. The whole cast and crew of Stranger Things is so surprised to be in the middle of this wonderful maelstrom that they're in. They're all so great, and it is a deeply loving family. He said it was absolutely amazing to spend a couple of episodes.
So
working with
good to
them.
hear that.
Yeah.
You know, isn't it?
I love it opens up with the arcade. Like the
Oh, of
arcade
course,
is a
yeah.
staple of the 80s.
Oh
and
my
I felt
God.
like I don't know, I didn't grow up going to arcades like that, but I could imagine in the Midwest Like,
Oh no,
Oh,
I
that's-
grew my.
Mine were in malls,
What
but
was
they
mine?
were the
Yeah,
same
no,
thing.
mine was at the Premier Theater down in Tarrytown, New York. And there was a big arcade, and I think it was like my 12th birthday. Yeah, only a dick in middle school would have asked for this. It was my 12th birthday. I was like, all I want for my birthday is a roll of quarters and a trip to the arcade, which of course sounded like a dream come true. I spent it in like 7 minutes
Right.
flat, and then I got shitty with my mom, and my mom was like, what kind of asshole are you?
and the Dragon's
me
Lair
tell
was
you what
exactly
Oh, right.
that was the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember playing that on Laserdisc.
So many times. I don't think I ever played Dragon Slayer for more than about 12 seconds.
Right.
Like I
Who
never
got past the
figured
first
out the gameplay
5
on
minutes,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Like the timing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, but so Nathan's. That was another big one on Long Island.
Oh, okay,
There was
right.
Nathan's that was like old school, you know, the
Yeah,
Coney
yeah.
Island print art around the top.
Totally, the
and
hot dogs,
on
yeah.
either side of it, down the sides were just video games. And
Right.
so you would get the Nathan's hot dogs and the crinkle cut
Yep,
fries, and you'd play a bunch of video games. And then there was always the one in the mall. I was always on the Star Wars, the first Star Wars, the Vector
Yeah,
one.
yeah. The Vector stuff was beautiful.
So good.
Only game I ever played is right over there, and it's Millipede.
Oh, really?
And that one I actually have a chip on there so I can switch between Millipede and Centipede if you want to play Millipede except shittier.
Right.
Yes, I said
Oh,
it. I
no.
totally said it. Boom. Centipede sucks.
Now, what did you guys think of the new characters introduced? They had Max
Yeah.
and her brother.
I
Yeah.
think I love Max.
I like Max a lot.
Mad Max is great.
Yeah, really cool.
Plus, the way Mad Max enters their consciousness
Yeah.
is exactly the kind of like, what magic is this that you would have in middle
Of
school?
course.
That this would be like scandalous.
And it's not, they didn't just plug her into the group. There's
No.
friction. There's actually some there's something interesting happening there. The brother, I'm having a hard time with I assume it's a wig. It feels wiggish.
Oh, his
Yes,
hairband, his
yeah.
white snake hairband hair. Yeah.
I mean,
it's
we
a
all
thing.
had it back then, but I'm just, it's
all I wanted back then was a please leave me the hell alone haircut. I never could find it.
no.
Yeah, I just wanted one that's like blended into the background. I would have shaved it all off if I could.
I do
They
feel
did that
like
to me the other day. I don't,
without going into, I feel like they do her a little bit of a disservice by the end of the series, though.
oh.
Like, not as developed as I'd hoped.
I'm not listening.
but
She does. I don't disagree with you on that. We will do a full spoiler
Yeah.
for the second half of Stranger Things, where we can really talk through the plot arcs, which is what we
Yeah,
can't do
yeah.
now that you're only halfway
Sorry.
through.
But so
Sorry.
far, super effective in terms of the rift she creates between this tight bond of the party.
Certainly, certainly.
And the kid, it's so great to see the kids. It's like it's hard. It's been almost 2 years.
It's a year.
It's been a year.
It's
That's
been a
it.
year. I know.
It
It
feels like
feels
it's been
like
like
much
5
longer.
years.
Yeah.
Yep. And they jump a year forward.
Right.
Yeah. 1984. It opens weird. It opens in the city. It takes it out of. It's
That's
weird
true.
to see scenes.
Yeah, and do we come back to that? Because I'm
We do.
starting to
We
feel
do.
like
We do.
we're like, okay, we set up 8, and I'm just waiting, and then it's okay.
we
I'm
will.
still waiting.
You will see it.
This
Okay,
is,
cool,
yes.
cool.
This is yes.
Which was cool. I mean, and that was a great.
We have
idea.
things to say about that
Yeah.
later.
All right, so wait, I'll throw another random one out
Yeah.
there. Did anyone call Kentucky Fried Chicken KFC in 1984?
Oh, so let me tell you, this is a very interesting question. I'm going to bookmark this
Yeah.
because I came across several phrases that I went and looked up.
Yeah.
I heard them say it's like a black hole, and I thought, was black hole in Carmen parlance back then
Right.
as that means someplace that all, and it
Yeah.
turns out yes.
Well, you
we've
had the
been
movie The
using
Black Hole.
as in that way since the 60s.
Wow. Okay.
There was another phrase someone spoke. Someone might have said win-win. And again, basically, I came across several phrases in the course
And-
of watching where
and
I
you
thought,
have to
oh,
stop
that
and
sounds
check 'em
too
out.
modern. I stopped, did some etymological research, and found out that none of the things I looked up were wrong.
Cool.
That's
Every
great.
single one
Wow.
was in common usage.
That's
Yeah.
tough to do because
Yeah, yeah.
as a writer, I'm sure they're it's not like they had a list of things that you wanted to use. They
No,
had to
but
write
you have to have
naturally.
someone in the room
Right.
who goes, "Wait a minute, is
Yeah.
that how that would have been said?"
Well, and
Right.
I definitely, the one that caught me was the KFC one, and I'm just thinking, and this is just my family.
Yeah.
It was always Kentucky Fried Chicken. It wasn't KFC until they
Yeah.
started to, try and disguise the fact that it wasn't, totally healthy.
We never did fast food as a kid, and
wow.
my parents cooked almost every single meal. And if we went out, because we were poor for the better part of my childhood, my dad did just enough work to keep the mortgage paid and to keep us fed and clothed, but there was no extra dough. So when we went out, we'd go to Beefsteak Charlie's on the East Coast.
yeah.
All you could eat shrimp.
Yeah.
That's where I learned about a Shirley Temple, or if you wanted the more masculine version, Roy Rogers.
Nice.
Did you go to Beefsteak Charlie's?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
My wife still orders Shirley Temple anytime we go to a wedding. She's like, it's her drink. It's her move.
I've discovered the adult equivalent of
Yeah.
Shirley Temple, since I don't drink alcohol,
Right.
is ginger ale
Uh-huh.
with a dash of bitters and a little lime.
Oh,
That is
so
a
a virgin
terrific-
Moscow Mule.
Oh, yes.
So I do a lot of I'll do ginger ale with pineapple juice. Mm-hmm. Don't a similar kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah. So at my birthday party, I turned 50
Yes.
this year. I had a little party. And the bartender is a bartender we regularly use. He's amazing. And he came up with this whole non-alcoholic drink menu
awesome.
for
Yeah.
me. So the punches were only alcoholic if you asked for it.
Right.
So a lot of people who would normally have enjoyed the hell out of the punch, enjoyed the hell out of a non-alcoholic punch, and were like, "This party was great."
Yeah.
But one of the drinks that he made, and they just started. I love these kind of bartenders. They just started raiding our fridge and spice drawer. So they made me this drink. I used to work at a Chinese fusion place here in the marina called Beetle Nut.
Okay.
Really, really important San Francisco institution for a long time, and some great food combinations. And he said this was the kind of thing he learned at Beetle Nut. It was 3-to-1 ginger beer and yuzu.
Okay.
Yuzu is
Yeah.
a Japanese citrus, I think. It's a citrusy kind of fruit. And they make a soda. So 3-to-1 ginger beer and yuzu with a splash of orange juice, and then Chinese 5-spice.
Oh, in a drink.
Uh-huh.
Yes, had that.
So imagine a drink that's spicy.
Right.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That's
like
great.
one of those,
and
like,
just
what
pulled
magic
together
is
out of
this?
things that you had.
Totally.
Star
That's
anise,
so
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
going back, I just wanted to say also, I'd be remiss in the first 5 episodes not to talk about Paul Reiser and Sean Astin, who I didn't even
Reiser.
know were in the show.
Right?
And when they appeared on screen, like, wow,
So good.
great casting.
Yeah.
And Paul Reiser, my wife and I still on a randomly daily basis will go, it was a bad call, Ripley. We will say that. Burke is so intrinsic to science fiction history. And then, there was the half decade or so of Mad About You.
Oh,
which is
yeah.
a terrific show,
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah.
show. So I love Paul Reiser. And
I felt like if they had not cast him, if Harold Ramis was alive, it would have been great for
Who was that?
Harold Ramis. Harold Ramis.
Spengler.
Harold Ramis.
Ramis.
Sorry, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. If
Yeah,
he was,
would've-
he would have been
he
great
would've
for
been
that
great.
role.
Sure.
as
Harold
well.
Ramis played the avuncular doctor in a million different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or throw Frank Oz in there.
Yep.
But it would have to be a cameo
Yeah,
then in a
Frank would
John
have to talk
Landis
a little
movie.
like this
yeah.
because that's his cameo voice.
Sean Astin
Is there-
working at the Radio Shack,
Yeah.
wonderful.
That was so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So good.
providing that tech support.
No, he was.
Yeah,
I got worried about him for a second, like episode 2 and 3.
totally reasonable.
like
Yeah.
being a spy.
Like, yeah.
I thought,
like,
oh, no, he's-
This
I-
is totally. This is
I had him
working
pegged.
them.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally.
I'm losing it. Nope, it's gone.
Will,
Sorry.
11. Mike.
Yeah, no, I could have used more 11 in the first 5 episodes. That's and I don't know where this goes.
I think that's the right amount of tension. 11's so intrinsic to the first series.
right.
I liked the tension of, and the release of 11 showing up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because she really does.
Okay,
and
good.
Millie
All right.
Bobby Brown, again, I can't believe the Duffer Brothers would write something that so hinges on the acting ability of a 12 and now 14-year-old who turns out to be a genius.
Right.
Because 11, throughout this series, and again does so much. Millie Bobby Brown does so much with just her face.
Yeah.
And there are so many ways it could have been overdone.
Yep.
And she doesn't do that. Like,
Yeah.
she grounds that whole series
Yeah.
in a performance that I find completely remarkable.
But they did that for all of the characters. Like, there's no one in that feels out of place or miscast
No, I
or
totally
is,
agree.
over or underdoing it. Like, they all just fit so well.
Hold on, I'm just looking at Norm's new iPhone X.
It's the iPhone.
Sorry, I just
10.
was like, that is a non. Oh, right. Yeah, this is. I'm going to put this whole thing in my mouth. Is that okay?
Do you feel like there was a moment in the first season, the hook was the first scene, playing D&D?
Right.
Do you
I
feel
thought-
like there was a hook like that? I think that they encapsulated perfectly from
I
the
love
80s.
that you asked that because I thought that that D&D scene, which I recently read, they wrote in like as long as it took for it to be performed. They wrote that scene almost like bang like that, and I thought it was a great challenge.
Yeah.
Tell me everything that's great about D&D in 2 minutes flat.
Right.
Tell
Yeah.
me everything that's formative about it, and they
Right.
really did.
Yeah,
And
they
I felt
nailed
like
it.
jumping to the arcade
It's-
and the social aspect
Yeah.
of the arcade and the games and the
It's
who's
the-
got the high
it's
scores
the
and
other
where.
shared experience of the time.
All of that
Yeah.
completely. I thought that was exactly the right way
Yeah.
to go.
I felt like the stuff in the school, it's not one event, but the feeling of being an outsider
Yeah.
was better this season in school, especially with Will coming back and being the freak
Oh
kid.
Yeah.
Well, which you would be. I mean, that's,
So here's my prediction for the next
okay.
season.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
got?
It's got to open with them online to see Jedi.
Well, wait.
It'll
no,
be a
Jedi
year.
would
Is
have
this
been-
1982?
84.
Oh, we're
84.
84. So Jedi's already come out. Shoot. So what would be 85?
Alien. Oh no,
Yeah.
wait, 85.
Well, making
That's the
Ghostbusters.
year I graduated from high school.
Oh goodness, I was a few years behind. Not that many though.
Okay. Because
Well, what's? Oh gosh,
We'll have to
what
look
else
up-
is 85?
I
mean, if
feel
they
like it's
pushed
waiting
their-
online at the movies.
Yeah.
Is it? Hey
Well,
guys,
wait,
if
was
you
Back
if
to
you
the
want to know,
Future
I'm happy to
85?
step into the writers' room and help you guys
Well,
write
this,
this scene
Go-
out.
yeah,
We'll all-
Ghostbusters was
Yeah,
this,
we'll all
this
jump
year's.
in. What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ghostbusters was their big pop
Right.
culture movie
Yeah.
anchor point this year. And oh
Yeah.
yeah, the Polaroids of the moms when they got the costumes.
Right.
That was also I
Yeah,
felt like
that was a
totally
great
great.
moment. You're going from
Yeah.
family to family.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah,
What a-
can't wait. There is a weird thing on Netflix. They're doing an after show, so there's actually a lot
Yes,
of behinds.
Beyond, and I haven't gone near it.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like
Okay.
they filmed it all in one day, but it's totally worth watching after you watch the entire show.
I love.
I can't wait.
that It feels. There's a way in which it feels culturally like I'm getting to watch a movie like The Thing again.
Yeah.
Right,
There's-
like good drama with some aspects that are dated, but in the right way, that are more like nostalgia than that didn't work. That doesn't work anymore.
it's not even, there's something about the first series that felt like you discovered something that had, like, you just forgot to watch.
Right. Like,
it didn't feel
you've never seen
like-
Goonies?
It wasn't
Right.
pastiche. It didn't feel that way anyway. It was just, like, oh, there was another Goonies.
Actually, I
must
just
have
realized,
missed that.
of course, how great is it that they cast Sean Astin,
Oh gosh.
And
the original ensemble child actor?
he says, "What's there? Pirate treasure?" Right. There's the reference.
I forgot
I don't
Yes.
recall that line. That might be from a later episode. Or I might have missed it on the
No,
plane.
no
That
big
happens.
spoilers. There's
No, that's fine.
Plenty
That's
good.
fine. That's
I
fantastic.
think we've
though.
done a good job teetering on the edge.
We have.
No.
We have. This has been a medium spoiler episode.
Yes. Yes.
I appreciate that greatly.
You're very
Seriously,
welcome. We will
because
do
I do
a
wanna see
second
them
full
cold.
spoiler episode when we have Will back. I'll be on the road, but I'll be doing
That's
this
right.
from the back of a bus.
Yeah. So
Brain
you-
Candy Live starts a week from Wednesday in Rhode Island. And then we do 24 cities around the country between next Wednesday and December 10th, I believe, finishing up in Charlotte, North Carolina.
When you'll be very tired.
It's a lovely lifestyle living on the back of a
Yeah.
bus. I cannot wait to hit the road with Michael Stevens. I will see you guys out on the road. If you are tested, remember, shout out, give a holler from the audience. I can't wait to start taking the show out again.
And Tom, thank you so much.
Tom,
for
thank you so
guesting.
much.
Oh, it's
joining
my
us.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And you're hanging out. Okay, that's my
Yep.
door. You're hanging out. We got more stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
next week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Once again, support for today's episode of Still Entitled comes from War Dragons, a mobile real-time strategy game where players directly control dragons to attack enemy bases. With over 150 different dragons to collect, players can join guilds to launch co-op attacks and co-op defense. Best of all, there's a new endgame feature called Atlas, which is a 3D persistent world where players can forge alliances with other team members and build up dragon-led armies, fight for new land, and secure lucrative rewards. Just go to wardragons.com/untitled on your phone or tablet device to download the game. We'll see you next week.